what it is. Welcome to the First Ones to Die podcast. Today, we are going to do the Woman King. Not in the literal sense. We are going to review the movie. Sit back, relax, grab a snack, grab a beverage, and listen as we talk about this fantastic film brought to us by our friends from Africa.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the First Ones to Die podcast. We hope you're doing great today on this lovely day, wherever you are. My name is Jonathan. I'm here with Alex and Jerome. How you both doing? How you doing, Jerome?
Chilling, man. Chilling. Yep, that's it. That's the report.
Right on.
Alex, go.
I'm fine. Had a little adventure. I got to pick up our dice box for our D&D games. They are all super cool. They're on the bed behind me, and Cheddar's little head's right there. They're so cool looking. I'm excited to show you guys later. How about you, Jonathan? What's going on? Quick.
Well, we don't have to go like speed round this episode. I should have established that before the episode.
No, let's do speed round. Let's do speed round.
Okay. We need to get to this movie, all right? There's a lot to talk about.
There is so much to talk about.
I'm doing good. The show started this week. So if you're in LA, go see The Inheritance, parts 1 and 2. It'll be 7 hours total of your time. But it'll be worth it because it's an amazing play. It won the Tony Award on Broadway. So go see The Inheritance. And then tomorrow, which would be yesterday for when this gets released, I'm flying out to New York for work. So that's gonna be interesting. I'm excited though.
So, do they have a wax museum over there, or like what? Why are you over there?
They do. I can't say too much. I'm gonna have to be one of those people. I can't say.
Oh, you're the worst.
My lips are sealed. I know this.
You're one
but
of the worst.
I actually can't. But yes, there is. There's New York, Orlando, Las Vegas, Hollywood, Nashville, and around the world too.
That's cool. I love seeing your Instagram posts when you're with the different like wax figures or like the opening thing, because it's so interesting to see it from the other side, the production side, because you only get to see it from like YouTube or like TV, but then you just see it from your side, where it's all these people kind of being frantic too, and how it shows how much work goes into those like what people may consider a small event because it's just a quick appearance or something like that. There's actually so much production to those events that people don't even think about. Like when you had mentioned moving the Rock's wax figure, I didn't think about it at all. I was kind of like, you can pack it.
That'd probably be heavy.
Yeah, you can just pack it into a truck and just keep it cool. You're like, no, it's wax and, this hard plastic that can shatter. So there's so much more.
Definitely. There's definitely and there's a lot of rules and stuff too about how you can photograph the figures and transporting that. Yeah, it's a lot.
And yet they let people just come in and do weird stuff to them. It grosses me out, the fact that touching them. Anyway, shall we talk about what we are here to talk about?
Yes.
Woman King. Yep.
Your audio broke up just a
So
bit.
we are talking about the Viola Davis starring new film that was just released called The Woman King.
Go ahead and do your African accent, Jonathan. You're an actor.
I'm not going to do that.
Do the accent. Just give us a sentence.
I'm not going to know.
Specific.
Well, I considered doing it for a second, but no, I'm not going to fall into your trap, Jerome.
I kind of want to see it a little bit, too.
The Woman King is a 2022 American historical epic about the Agoji, an all-female warrior unit who protected the West African kingdom of Dahomey during the 17th to 19th centuries. Stars Viola Davis, Thuso Mbedu Lashana Lynch, Sheila Adam, and John Boyega. Now, if this is your first time listening to one of our reviews, this is how it works. Okay, we talk about our first thought, our initial thoughts, or our general thoughts, I guess. We don't go into spoilers. Do we like the movie? Do we not like the movie? Then we'll warn you that we're going into our spoiler section, and we'll dive deep into all things spoilers. So, who wants to go first? Who wants to give their first thoughts on this film?
I will. It was an amazing film. It was very inspiring. It was beautifully done, and I loved the dances they did in this film. Were very empowering and kind of emotional at times to see, because you can see so much of modern dance in it as well, or what was taken from like tribal dances or dances like that and put into modern dancing. So that was really cool to see that lasting effect that it has had on the world from that. I'm trying to point out smaller things so I don't give away major spoilers. Funny thing is, I didn't recognize John Boyega in the whole film.
I don't know
really?
how. Like, I honestly don't know how.
Jerome,
he looks like him.
So I've only seen him with I guess
he was in no prosthetics at all.
I think that's what it was. I think that he wasn't in because I've seen him in the Stormtrooper thing, and I've seen him in these more bulky outfits.
His face is the exact same though.
It is.
All he has more facial hair.
Look. I wasn't entirely always staring at his face, but that's not the point. Point is, I really have a problem sometimes with people's faces. Look, I said what I said. Anyway, but it was just very touching and inspiring. And after the film, it kind of makes you want to go work out, learn to fight, because the fighting skills in this film are insane, and they're so beautifully choreographed, and it's just amazing to see how well the women fell into sync with each other during those fight scenes. It was so cool when they did, pair fighting, and how well they were timed with each other, their movements, everything, even when they weren't looking at each other. That's a whole other skill that was, showing. And just, my recommendation is definitely just go see this film, because I couldn't find a thing I didn't like about it, honestly. So what about you guys?
I thought it was good, man. This movie was dope. I really enjoyed it. I think like you said, the action choreography is on point. I think it's great that it's practical. They didn't have and most of these women are doing their own stunts. Very few of them had stunt doubles, and really I think the ones who did have stunt doubles may have been some of the women who were the main cast. But for the most part, a lot of the other women in the background, those women are all action women. They know how to do the moves. They can do that. They've done the training. And if you watch some of the behind the scenes stuff for this movie, these women worked hard to get their bodies right, to get the training down, to get the choreo down. And it shows. It's the work shows for itself. So that's awesome. But just also acting wise, this movie is great. Because I remember watching the trailers, and in my head I was like, oh, it's going to be woman. It's going to be a female 300. It's going to be a lot of badass women doing badass stuff, fighting and doing everything. But they're but I don't know how much character there's going to be. And I was surprised to find that this movie actually has a lot of character. It is not just a movie to just have action sequences. There's downtime where you see the characters interact with each other and get to know these women as people, and not just, oh yeah, that's the one who did the one thing when she jumped and then stabbed them with the spear like that. It's no, all of them have names, all of them have character, all of them have personalities, and there's a lot they bring to it. Also, shout out to Shayna West, I think is her name. She's not a big important role in this movie, but she's a person I follow on Facebook who is a stunt woman. She's been in stuff like Black Widow, and I think she's in Black Panther. But she's done a lot of stunt work with staffs, and she's in this movie. She's promoted. That's how I found out about this movie before all the trailers came out. She was bigging it up that she got cast. So shout out to her. because she's awesome. And also the music in this movie is really good. I love the music in this film a lot. Yeah, that's as much as I'm going to say for right now until we get into spoilers. But for the most part, great film. Loved a lot of the choices in this. Also, shout out to cinematography too. Actually, when I'm thinking about it, because there are a lot of night scenes in this movie, and you do not have a hard time seeing these women because there's a lot of dark skinned women in this cast, and they are perfectly clear. You can see them. Their silhouette is shining out in the dark. That is hard to do, so I will give them their props, cinematography wise. They did a great job.
This movie was incredible. I loved it. It was amazing. It was epic. I don't feel like I had heard a lot of buzz about it before watching it. I follow Viola Davis on Instagram. I feel like that's where I mainly heard the buzz coming from. I don't think I'd seen really any trailers about it beforehand. I obviously knew about it, and like on my way home, I had driven past a billboard about it. But other than that, I didn't see too many people talking about going to see it. But I definitely think everyone needs to go see this yesterday. The scenery, like I felt like I was in Africa watching this. All of the different like varied locations that they would use were just very appealing visually. That goes along with the cinematography as well. They were very well shot. The acting, Viola Davis, we know Viola Davis, can act her butt off. I think she was definitely like, I don't think it had come out. I don't think the First Lady had come out yet. So I don't think she was thinking that she had something to prove since that came out, because we all know what happened with that and her playing Michelle Obama. But we're not going to talk about that right now. We're going to give her flowers and talk about the Woman King, because she killed this role.
Funny
she literally
enough,
killed
Lawson,
in this role.
Jamie Lawson, who played Shantae, she's played Michelle Obama in a show. So
Hey.
by proxy,
Yeah.
she got to vicariously, I guess, live through her.
Man. But yeah, I absolutely loved this. The crowd did clap in the theater that I watched it in.
I'll let it slide.
And I joined in because I knew the crowd was going to clap as well, because they had clapped at multiple points in the film that I'll talk about during the spoilers. But I joined in, and I knew they were going to clap, and I joined in because I thought it deserved a clap. Yeah. But all in all, I think this was really incredible. I didn't know what to expect going in. I knew to expect, a lot of fight scenes, and as listeners, as you guys and listeners of this podcast may know, I'm not the hugest fan of fight scenes, but in this movie, every fight scene I was invested. I think because mainly they weren't too prolonged, and they were well shot, and they were engaging, and you had a rooting interest for, this group of people. So yeah, those are my first thoughts on the film. Now, getting into spoiler territory, I guess, unless anybody has anywhere they'd like to start.
You know what? Just to get it out the way, just because this is the elephant in the room. How do you guys feel? Because this movie is under some controversy right now. And, and so it's like, I figure we could talk about this. Might as well do it now. The reason some people are having issue with this movie, because the Dahomey tribe had a lot to do with the slave trade, as far as like giving up their own African, like more than this movie is talking about, that they mentioned in this film. And a lot of people feel a certain type of way, because this movie omits a lot of that history and is focusing mostly on the positive parts of the Dahomey tribe. One such person included Lupita Nyong'o, was supposed to be in this film. I don't know who she was going to play, but she was supposed to be in this movie, and she was excited until she found out more about the Dahomey tribe and turned it down because of their history and involvement in slavery and in like in giving
Lupita,
Africans
the
to
one
the
who
Portuguese.
wouldn't get a COVID shot and denied a lot of the pandemic. Well,
No, that's
No,
Letitia
that's-
Wright.
oh, that's Letitia. Okay, I was like, wait,
different person.
I'm like, okay. I was like,
no,
wait a minute.
Lupita Nyong'o played.
She was in 12 Years a Slave. That's where she won her Oscar.
Yeah, and Black Panther. She played Black Panther's girlfriend, whose name I can't remember right now for some reason.
Okay.
But that's why she turned the role down. I don't think she's offered the Woman King though. I think she was going to play one of the side characters. But regardless, like it's been a thing, and there's been a lot of Black people who have had an issue with that. I don't know if it bothers me that much because I'm like, every biopic doesn't include the whole history, no matter what it is. So I'm not going to hold this movie to a different standard just because Black people are in it. Like there's like every single biopic omits something from the history or changes something to make the movie more entertaining. So that's how I feel about it. If someone has a hard time watching this movie because of that, that's I understand. But for me personally, I just wasn't that bothered by it.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I didn't know about that beforehand, but I scrolled down a little bit on the article for the film, and it mentions that. Doesn't talk about too much of like the controversy. I imagine because the movie was just released yesterday, that people aren't necessarily going into the movie with that knowledge or with that kind of mindset. But I don't know. I'll have to think about it. But on first, hearing of that, it does affect, I guess, my thought of the story, but not of the movie, if that makes sense. I loved the movie. Maybe after this, I'll do my own research on the history and, the story of these people. But the movie still slaps. I don't think you can take away from the movie. And of course, with, any piece of media, there's always, like you mentioned, there's always going to be things that they omit. There are going to be things that, the truth is going to be probably bent a little bit because that's just how Hollywood, how movies are made. Even with, historical movies, there's always going to be something that's, bent a little bit for the sake of telling a story. Because what good would it be if you're trying to tell your story? You're trying to tell your story to the audience, and it only consists of, all right, well, okay, we conquered this, but back to slave trading. All right, cool. Let's trade some more of our some of the slaves. So yeah, I think it was touched on a little bit in the movie, and I think that point was like they got the point across, but also were able to
and I
butterfly it up. They were able to make it a little bit more pretty, I guess.
Yeah, especially, and I will say this history, I didn't read the full article either, but the little bit I did see is that the part of history they're talking about specifically is when they were starting to stop giving tributes to the Oyo tribe. So it's not like this is an era where they were still giving slaves and they just didn't talk about it. They talked about it, but that portion of history for that tribe or that kingdom was before this movie takes place. So it's not the focus of this film. I think that's another factor to take into account too. But Alex, how do you feel?
And also, sorry.
No, what were you saying?
One more thing. I was just going to say that it is a fictionalized,
historical fiction.
Naniska. Viola Davis's character. Viola Davis's character.
Yeah.
She didn't exist. So therefore, her story there's more room to play with the story.
For me personally, I was surprised they even mentioned the slave trade within between African tribes, because a lot of times, or at least the movies I have seen, I don't know if this is like all the movies or just the ones I have personally seen, they often ignore that part of it and how they were kind of forced into becoming their own slave traders as well. So the fact that they acknowledged it, and we're even at the end when he's talking about it, is like, we're only able to do that because now we are seeing ourselves as possessions and no longer people. And he's like, that's what it's done to us. So I was not surprised, but I was a little like, oh, they actually mentioned it. Cool. The story's more to it than it seems. It's more a history, because a lot of times you see it in, Latin films, as well, they ignore the influence that a lot of the colonization happens even to this day. A lot of like Latin films, from my experience, will omit the history from the back, being like, oh yeah, but you know why everybody's Catholic, right? You know how that happened. And then you forced the generation next and the next generation, and it flooded to that way. So I did like that they were willing to openly speak about it. I do agree maybe there could have been more, but also you're right, that wasn't the center of this story. It is a big part in history, but it was not the sole purpose of this movie. And you can only take up so much time telling facts in history, and you're with a historical fictional film, because you want to focus on the main character and her struggle and where she's going and why she's starting and what led her to becoming the Woman King. It's because she was outspoken. Not only was she a fantastic warrior and survived so much, she also saw what was going on, and she's like, hey, and she defied her king and she became all this stuff. So it was also like the main part was her and like how she became the Woman Queen. And I do like it doesn't start all the way at the beginning of her youth and everything. She's already this insanely powerful general. We see her at the top, and you could almost see her descent in a way, because not me personally, not knowing the history of it, the king could have been like, yeah, I agree with you, but you kind of defied me, so you're dead. But Woman King kind of gave away the title. The title gave away what was going to happen.
Right.
But you can see the stone of her break and why she starts having these new thoughts, and just the development from, she is not only a great warrior, she is not only this killing machine, she is a human being, even if she, is all this other stuff. So that's where my focus was, but I do understand people's frustration with the lack of information in this film regarding their involvement with that. But again, at the same time, for me, it's, you only have so many hours in a film. 32 hours long, like.
Yeah, plus this movie,
2 hours and 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is about the Agoji. Like, it's about those warrior women. It's not about the Dahomey tribe. Like, there are documentaries about the Dahomey tribe. If you want to know more about information about that, look them up. They're really good. So I hear. I haven't seen them. But, like, if you want to know about that kingdom, that group of African people, look that up. This movie is about the Agoji, like, specifically, and that is what the movie does. It focuses on these women. So I didn't expect to know more about that history, more than they gave us in the film, where it's like, no, they acknowledge that they did that. Moving on. Now let's hang out with these women for 2 hours and find out what they're about. Yeah. That being said, you mentioning Naniska, do you think she was the main character though of this movie? Because I feel like
Naui?
What's her name? Yeah,
Naui.
Naui. I feel like she was the main character of this movie, and Naniska was like, she was an important factor, but she was like a main, like, supporting character, like a major supporting character in this film.
I thought Naniska was the main character, or at least no, I feel like Naniska was, just because of the way she presented herself. And you wanted to follow her more than you wanted to do follow Naui.
I mean, that's true, but the movie doesn't. It follows Naui more than it does.
I feel like it kind of follows them equally. I think it might be that they're both the main character, right?
Same. I think it's telling both of their story, but from different generations, different power levels, different perspectives.
Now he's supposed to be our avatar character. She's our character to help so that we can learn about this culture, this world, because she doesn't know anything. So that character can help us, like, as an audience, get to know stuff, because the questions we have, she has. Of like, why do you guys do this? What's this? Ooh, what's that? Like, so I get why she was important to the character, or important to the movie. I was just, in my head, I was like, the movie's named after Naniska, but since she's already, like, involved, like, I can't see her being the main character, since she knows everything. She's not going to ask any questions.
Well, no, she did. But that's the thing, is Naniska developed so much more, because she became from just a general. She became more. And she, was constantly like...
I don't mean like she hasn't changed in that she hasn't changed as a person. I mean, she knows everything in that. She knows why they do what they do. She knows their rituals. She knows their, like, combat style and stuff like that. Like, the only way we learn that stuff is if we have someone like a Naui who doesn't know anything. And so she asks, like, all of the obvious questions that anybody who's already a part of the fighting force would already know.
Yeah, but just because a character asks questions doesn't make them the main character.
I mean, that's not... No, I'm saying she's the main character because we follow her the entire time. We follow that girl's journey the entire time.
There doesn't have to be one protagonist.
That's true.
That's true.
There can be two. I think they both are protagonists. It's kind of like, and bear with me, this is... Y'all don't think this is a reach.
Is it going to be racist a little bit?
No.
The way you said it, I was like, are you going to compare it to something that's going to end up being weird?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, maybe that, but not racist.
Okay, I don't even know if I want to say it anymore.
Go.
Did you guys ever watch Cadet Kelly on Disney Channel growing up?
I did not watch it, but I know of it, yes.
Okay, so basically, Hillary Duff, she's sent off to this, like, military camp or school or whatever. And Christy Carlson Romano from Even Stevens fame, she is, like, the head
honcho
military, whatever. And then they have like dissension between them. It's like that power struggle, like that power dynamic. And in the end, they come together and they do the thing. That relationship is kind of like the relationship in this, where
it's the whole yin and yang thing, the balance that a part of one is a part of the other. I see what you're getting. I don't like that you compared it to a Disney Channel movie. But I see what you're saying.
Not a good one at that. Like,
Cadet Kelly is iconic.
It's actually not bad. I won't
use the over. If there's one over word you have, Jonathan, it's iconic. Iconic means other people talk about it outside of your social circle. All right, I don't hear nobody talking about Cadet Kelly.
Have you been on like TikTok or Instagram? Everybody loves Disney films.
I have not seen Cadet Kelly memes anywhere.
It is still.
I ain't seen none of whatever video games you play memes. So
wait, I know it. Steampunk.
What? What makes you think I'm into steampunk?
Well, no, what's the game you play?
What game?
It's like called Steampunk or something.
You use Cyberpunk?
Oh, okay. I got close. I don't see Cyberpunk things.
There's a Netflix show right now that is very popular.
Not aware of it.
Everything has a Netflix show, to be fair.
Oh,
yeah, that's true. All right, I'll give you that. Everyone's got a Netflix show now.
While we're talking about this forward, I do love that the whole cast was like dark skinned women too. because a
Yeah,
lot,
very few light-skinned women.
yeah,
Most of it's dark-skinned women.
They had the light-skinned dude, which we'll talk about.
I do love that because like, and almost even in, again speaking from my own, even in Latin college, they find just the lightest skin one, the whitest of us all. Like Dominicans will get whitewashed so quickly in our Latin culture, and so will a lot of Mexicans too, because there's a lot of colorism still within our communities, and to see it not affect the film the way it usually does, and to see all these darker skinned women present, it was amazing to see. And
it's like that whole.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. It's like that whole thing of remember a few years. I don't know if either of you guys heard about this, but a few years back, Amandla Stenberg, who's in Bodies, 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 check out our review from a couple weeks ago. They mentioned that they were approached or auditioned or whatever for Black Panther.
To play who?
It might have been Shuri. I think it might have been Shuri, actually.
Well, actually, I could see her as Shuri. She's like the only person I could see her as, because I'm like, I don't know, she's a little too small to be Adora.
Yeah. So, so it's like, Hollywood still, even with some of these roles where, the movie takes place in Africa, where you have mostly dark-skinned people, they'll find, they'll do the brown paper bag test and be like, I don't know if you're right for this role.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, I'm African. I literally am from Africa.
I can trace my bloodline.
It's kind of crazy. I do think it's cool. They got a lot of dark-skinned women for this, and for the main cast especially, they got a lot of dark-skinned women to play their roles. They did a good job too. Lashana Lynch, man, she is everywhere. She's unstoppable. She's in the Marvel movies and Captain Marvel and Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. She's in James Bond. Now she's in this movie. Like, her agent is good. Like, whoever they are getting her some solid work.
And she was incredible in this.
Yeah, she
charming.
Was great. She was great.
Charming, like, badass.
She's gonna be Miss Honey in Matilda. There's a new Matilda in the musical. She's gonna be Miss Honey. I don't know which Miss Honey that is.
I was on the verge of tears when she died in this movie.
I was angry when she died because I was just like, are you kidding me? We were supposed to run together. The one girl gets caught immediately. The other one, and then Nawe, she just being all slow. It's just like, come on, girl. We are trying to escape.
She went back for her.
I know. And I was just like, you taught her to go back for you, and now you got her killed. Because you know there's guns here. Why would you do this?
During the whole film, they kept saying, don't go back.
Her, and then I'm just like, okay, I know you're sad, but run. She died so you could live.
A lot of the times they kept telling people, don't go back, don't go back, don't go back. And everybody kept going back. I get why, because I wouldn't leave people behind, but still, multiple
Especially
times,
when
don't go back.
Nawe went back for her friend in the thorns, I was just like, first of all, and then you see her later with her, with her machete and everything, and she's all happy, celebrating. I'm like, you don't count. You don't get one. You didn't pass the test. Okay? You don't deserve to have one of those. You still be in the thorns right now if it wasn't for Nawe.
The amount of times I was wincing when they show you all the it wasn't even people getting stabbed. It was when they did the slices and when they did
there was a lot of gory stuff.
But it wasn't even that gory. There was
PG-13,
no
13, so I'm surprised the amount of cutting and stuff they actually did show.
But there was no blood and guts. They were clean slices, so there's not a lot of blood. There's not a lot of guts. That's why it's not considered gory. However, there were so many stabbings and slicings, and the thorn. I felt everything. I was like, oh god.
The scene when she broke her arm and she has to push it back in, I heard the audience gasped during that scene.
Oh, I was like, oh god.
It was. Can we talk a little bit more about Viola Davis? Because when she first came on screen, I was like, okay, that's Viola Davis. Like less than a minute in, I was like, okay, that's Naniska. Because like she just embodied the role like she usually does. She did a really
She's
good job.
Man. She got fit for this role. Like she looked good. She looked great. She looked strong. I mean, all the women did, but it's just Viola Davis, like being the oldest, at least like looking at the cast, the oldest I can imagine of the group. I'm sure it was not easy to get in that good a shape for this movie, but she did a great job.
I really love that they actually picked an older woman to play Naniska's part, because that also showed her power. Because you can clearly see from the ages of the other women in the group that a lot of them did not survive so long. That she was one of the last older women, and that screams a lot of power. That I think people forget sometimes, that when you have lived so long, you have gone through so much. And like there you are still standing, and especially in that time of like war and fighting and everything like that, she was still standing and she was the head of an army. And, you know, her age presented that with that power and that knowledge, and why the king, it showed the king trusted her so much compared to all these other, you know, brides he had that were so young looking and acting childish, or at least the main one.
No,
can't remember, but yeah, so I really love that they got somebody of an older age compared to like, oh, a younger person, or, you know, trying to almost play it off as that heroine character that's like 12 years old, but they teach them how to fight one time and suddenly they can defeat the big bad. So I really love that Viola Davis does this, and just everything she does. I always find she's such a strong woman in her films, and she's a very strong woman in life, and she just presents it that way in her films so easy. I don't think it's maybe easy, but it definitely
she makes it look easy because she's so good at it. Yeah, no, her character was well crafted, and she definitely embodied all of it. And yeah, I love Viola Davis. I think she's just amazing.
Yeah. How about the woman who we find out in the movie as a twist is her daughter, Nawe, played by Thuso Mbedu. I'm butchering that last name.
Mbedu probably is. If I go by how other African last names are pronounced, is Mbedu or Mbedu.
What do we think of her character?
I thought she was good. I thought she was plenty bratty without being annoying, and that's a fine line to walk, because there's a lot of girls have played this character of the like child who thinks she knows everything even though she knows nothing, but then complains when people are like, okay, since you think you know everything, go on ahead then. No, please, no, I don't want to leave. No, just like, then stop acting out. Like
Siri from The Witcher.
Great job.
I ended up hating her character in the show because it came out too bratty.
A lot. Yeah, so I think this actress, and it's also the writing too, but mostly her performance, like she does a great job of skirting that line where you can see that she has a desire to be one of these warriors and has a desire to be free and not be owned by anybody. But that desire also sometimes can get her in trouble, because she also doesn't want to be owned by the Agoje either. She doesn't want to follow the rule, because she's like, nobody tells me what to do. Nobody, even these other women. Although I respect them.
I don't know, if a woman has a spear, I'm gonna listen to her.
Yeah, I thought she did a great job. In terms of the character, I wish before she, went into the compound, I guess.
The kingdom, yeah, the palace.
Yeah, I had wished we had gotten a little bit more backstory on her, because it was just like all of a sudden, I'm getting married. Okay, never mind. No, you're not. I'm going to give you up to the king. bye. And that was about it. I wish we had gotten a little bit more backstory before she went in, so that way we could see how she was like beforehand, like in her everyday, like day-to-day life. And I feel like that would have given us a little bit more of like a reason, not fish out of water. Well, that a reason as to why she was given up to the king, but like it would have given us a little bit more like fish out of water story, even though she was perfectly capable in, you know, and in the fight and everything. But I feel like I would have wanted it just a little bit more.
See, but I think this movie assumes that you understand, because it's not to this level, but it's still that way now in Africa, where it is still a culture of women serve the men. Like that's how it rolls. It's not as bad. Like currently, it's more just like a social thing as opposed to like back then where it was like that's not a maybe, or if you find a nice man. No, every man is to be served by their woman till they die. So I think this movie is like going like if you know Africa's history, you know that already. So we're not going to spend too much time on it. Like we're just going to give you a little bit and then move on.
That was something that I was thinking of, in like, you know, it definitely harkened on the whole patriarchy, and like that whole aspect. But I would have liked the personal aspect of her personal story, because her personal story is probably like not like everyone else's. Well, her personal story definitely isn't like everyone else's, because she had this whole story where, you know, her mom had to give her up to an orphan and all that stuff.
That was kind of explained when they went back into Naniska's story. That part, her story would have been like getting found at the orphanage, her father telling her, "Hey, you have the devil's mark," and from what they let on is that she was attempted to be engaged multiple times, or attempted to be married off multiple times. And this was almost the last resort style, because he wasn't really looking for her. He's like, "You're gonna work in my sugar fields. That's it."
Which that slap was not warranted at all. She didn't even say anything. All he said was, "You're gonna work in my sugar fields." Smack. I'm like, what the hell? She didn't do anything. What is wrong with you?
I think with that, yeah, it kind of just showed the ruthlessness. Oh, not ruthlessness of her father, because it was like a cultural thing. You have children, you marry them off. That's what you do. You marry off the daughters, and the men take the land and all that stuff. So I don't think too many background was needed, but I would have liked to see her in her little younger years, because she seemed like a character I could definitely relate to. She had a little bit of Shakespeare, constantly wandering off when she shouldn't be wandering off. I could totally connect with that, and getting into trouble. And sometimes asking one too many questions. The amount of people that get mad at me because I'm like, "Well, why?" And they're like, "Well, I got really nobody at my church ever liked me when I was younger because I was like, "Why?" And they're like, "Just have faith." I'm like, "That's not enough for me." So I could have totally connected with that character.
There's a lot of girls who could not say no to that caramel skin. All right. You saw that man butt naked. You know what he looked like. All right. She was going to go to that villa. I don't care how much oaths she took with her sisters. All right. She was going to go just go and see him.
Okay. While we just diving into it like that.
And you all just looked away when I talked about John Boyega, but he can say caramel skin. And that man was more of a mocha. Thank you.
I don't know. I was thinking he was out here on that light skin.
He's a biracial. For real, have you heard that song? She's a biracial girl. He's a biracial boy. That's
trying to start your R&B career right now, Jonathan.
I mean, that's pretty good though. I will give you that.
It was pretty solid. Yeah,
it's very smooth. You have a very smooth voice.
Anyway, while Jerome just jumped into the butt nakedness of it all, what did we think about that whole side love?
Malik,
you know, this guy, American... he's working the most American name.
Yeah, his name. Everybody else is like, you know, Nawe, Naniska, Owe, Akuze. You know what I mean? All those names. His name, my name Malik.
Malik is an African name that means king.
It is I know, but I'm just saying, it's just like when I think Malik, I think of some dude on the corner out here buying Newports. I don't immediately think Africa.
I mean, he was at the ports.
And they were new, I guess.
I didn't like the love story they had. I find it so annoying when they put love stories in the middle of things. I get for like an average person they need it, but like I'm so much more interested.
A bit unnecessary.
I'm so much more interested in what else is going on. I understand why his character was necessary, and I did like it. It did show how there were a lot of biracial children sometimes, and it was very rare for them to actually be accepted into upper circles. And I think it showed why he was so accepted, because he was much light-skinned compared to the Dahomey tribe. And that's definitely one of the acceptance of it. Honestly, when I first saw him, I'm like, oh, he must be a Spaniard or something. Mm-hmm. Because he was so light-skinned.
Yeah, well, they were like, they were part of the like Portuguese crew. So I just assumed that he was like a darker skinned Brazilian person.
I don't know why that made me laugh. I just calling them the crew is just like, yeah, the crew versus the homies.
Wait, were they were from Portugal, right? Because at one point they mentioned Brazil. So I was confused. I was like, okay, I thought these people were from Portugal, but at one point now it mentions Brazil.
The Portuguese
invaded
that's
Brazil.
Where they colonized. They colonized a lot of South America, including Brazil, which is why a lot of Brazilians speak Portuguese, not Spanish.
And yeah, like to your point, Alex, like back in the day, a lot of people who were maybe biracial, if they could pass as white, if they were like light skinned enough, they would do that, because it wouldn't benefit you in society to say you're anything else. You would just say, yeah, I'm a white person, because that's what would benefit you the most.
Yep. You ever seen the movie Passing? You talk about that a lot.
Well, I haven't seen it, but I know that's like, the plot, they're passing. But I know Zendaya was also going to star in I don't know if she's still starring in it, but it was called A White Lie. It's about a woman who was like white passing to get into like college or something.
Not sure.
There is a woman, and I cannot remember what it's called now. I think it's actually called Bella, but I'll have to look it up.
Yeah,
Belle.
Yeah.
Where it talks about, because she is, darker skinned, she's not worthy enough to sit at dinner with her family, even though she has a higher title, and she can't sit with people of lower class or servants because she's too above them because of her father's side. And that is a good movie that also shows how much the skin color and the colorism is there even within their own people as well, because the servants look kind of down on her, like, hey, you're lighter than us, so you're probably with them, but everybody at the table, she's not light enough to pass. She is very much in this middle ground area. It's a beautiful film, and it shows also how quickly ignorant people, when they appear to be your ally, can turn on you for their benefit. That is also a good film, and I recommend people seeing it. It is called Belle, right? Mm-hmm. I saw it. It's also beautiful. It's like, I wish it's in the like 1800s where they wear the giant dresses with the frills and everything. So it's another historical fiction film, but it is so well done.
I agree with you that subplot though seemed unnecessary, in the sense not in the sense that it didn't, because it did feed to the plot, with her like getting the information about the Oyo tribe coming to attack and all that stuff. So it's like it did feed to the story. It's just the fact of like, in this that's I think my one criticism of this movie is some of their subplots they were trying to set up felt so like cliche, but for no reason. Like the battle between Naniska and Shantae, like trying to Shantae trying to be like, no, I'm the queen and I want to be the woman king, and I'm like, I don't care about this character. Like, I don't know anything about this girl, so I'm not really that invested in who's gonna be, and like you said, the title kind of gives away that it's gonna be Naniska. So I'm not worried that this girl's gonna come in between the king and Naniska at any point in time. It's also the same thing with that one Agoje warrior who talks to the girl from the Mahi tribe, who who gets trained, who's one of the Nawe's friends, who she's like, you're an outsider from a different tribe. You'll never be one of us. And then literally, what's her name? Dang it, because I want to get it right. Amenza. Amenza shows up and she's just like, hey, stop that. And she's like, okay. Like, that's the end of that conflict right then and there. And I was like, what was the point of that scene? What was the point of that? Like, so that you could have that one sacrifice moment in the battle. But I'm like, okay, and I don't know who either of them are, really. Like, especially the Agoje warrior. I definitely don't know who she is. She's just another one of the many women in the background. It's like, so, I don't know.
By the way,
man.
she was amazing in this. I know we mentioned Sheila Adam.
Oh, yeah. She was great as Amenza. She had the facial expressions down. She looked fierce. Like, at every scene she was in the battles.
At that one point, I got chills when they were doing like the blood ritual, and she was singing. She could sing too.
She could sing too. She's got a voice.
Yeah.
She's got a voice.
Side note, I clicked on Thuso Mbedu, her Wikipedia profile. Homegirl is 31 years old.
What?
I thought,
wow, she looks like she's got such a baby face, man. Like,
this is the epitome of black don't crack.
I'm her age. She's my age.
She's the same age as Sheila Adam.
Damn.
Wow, that's interesting.
That is super impressive. That's insane. She's 31 years old. That's insane.
And they were both in the Underground Railroad last year.
There's a lot of overlap because Sheila Adam was also in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, as well as Lashana Lynch. So I'm like, there's a lot of crossovers going on around here. Yeah. But I mean, Sheila Adam, fantastic. She was great as Amenza. She's really good. I think too, she proves that look, it don't matter how skinny you are. If you're a badass, like, it don't matter. Your size don't matter. Because the whole time I'm like, man, she is smaller than all the women, but she is just as dangerous, if not more dangerous. I mean, I don't know. Kuze had a Lashana Lynch's character. She had nails though. That did scare me.
I love that
the entire time.
Love that.
I want to clawing people's eyes out.
I want to get nails like that. I think that'd be fun. I did like that they had women of all shapes and sizes because that was interesting. You did get to see body variety.
I noticed that, yeah.
And it showed clearly, like, yeah, it doesn't always matter what your body size looks like. You can still be strong. You can be so agile and swift and just as deadly as the next one. And yeah, the body diversity was amazing in this. They didn't make them all look like one, warrior. So yeah. I just wanted to point that out.
If you could fight, you could fight.
Also, I am so glad, speaking of the fights, I am glad that this movie does make it look like these women could fight some of their opponents. Because I'm glad that, like you said, I'm glad they didn't have Nawe fight Oda at the end. Because I'm like, he's huge. I don't care and he's skilled. I don't care how strong you are, unless you are his height, which Viola Davis was, and and kind of look like you can measure up to him in size. You're not going to take him down unless you think on your feet. And so I'm glad that the way that the fight scenes are, it felt real. It didn't feel like it's like, well, I have to lose because you're the main star of this movie. And also, I'm glad that the choreography didn't just result in them just doing the human pretzel, or what I call the human pretzel. But and what I'm referring to is if you've seen Black Widow do any move in any of her movies, where she just jumps on him like a spider monkey and does the human pretzel move and then takes him down to the ground, because that's choreo in so many female-led fight action movies, because it's a really flashy looking move. But I'm like, I would like to see some like female-led action movies where they don't only do that one move, where they have some other skills and or do some other fighting styles, because there are women who do all different types of fighting styles. Some who are boxers, some who are kickboxers, some who do aikido and jujitsu and all the other stuff. And I'm like, why is it that we only ever see them do this one move? And it's mainly because the sexist thing, because it's also a very feminine looking move. But I'm like, no, I want to see some women just hack away with a machete sometimes. Sometimes I want to see them just take their fingers and just stick them in the eyes and just take the eyes out. Like, that's cool. So I'm glad this movie.
I used to do Krav Maga. I can launch somebody actually pretty far with my feet. It's actually a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I'm just like, I want to see more. I'm glad that this movie was like, no, we're going to do the African like fighting style these women specialize in. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah. Speaking of the choreography, it's also the choreography, as I had mentioned earlier, the music and the dancing was just, that also gave me chills, because that was so beautiful. Because women also, still to this day, we love dancing with each other. We love feeling that sisterhood and that the connection. I will go to clubs just to dance. People are like, oh, why do we go to dance with each other? Because it feels good, and it can be shown through many cultures, many generations, that this is something women have done. And it's a way to unify ourselves, to connect with each other, because no matter what, you move to the same rhythm right there in that moment. So hearing them singing and then seeing their dancing was just gorgeous. And then having their traditional garb, it was just amazing. Women in their traditional garb is so powerful. I love seeing women wear stuff like that, because it's like, holy crap. I'm like, this is unique. These are colorfuls. And I love the colors that they use in the outfits too. Because a lot of times with warrior movies or with films that have these fight scenes, they keep these like dark colors, or they keep these very neutral or tone colors. They still had these amazing colors. They weren't, when they have like the special forces team, they're always just dressed to black. They always have a solid color, because that's their like the color team almost.
They need to blend in the shadows.
Yeah, this didn't have that. They wore something that they could fight in. And when they weren't wearing that stuff, they were wearing beautiful colors. Even the male army we didn't see, we like a glimpse of, they wear, colored tunics to specify their ranks as well. They use the colors. When you were first joined, you just don't wear the white, and then eventually you earn the colors. You earn the red, the blues, and everything. And it was just visually amazing to see those colors presented. And like with the king, gorgeous robes he was wearing most of the time, and the colors were just so bright and vibrant, and it really showed. I remember, what was the queen who wanted to be queen? What was her name? Shantae. She was wearing a yellow dress when we were first introduced to her, and I was just taken away, because along with her hair, which was done amazing.
The styling was on
point. My God, her
Mm-hmm.
hair, when I saw her first and her hair, I was like, oh, I love her hair. And then I found out she was like the character that was going to go against her, at least politically. I was like, damn, no wonder she had that hair, because it was higher up and it was longer than so much women. It was showing power. And I actually just had been talking to my mom about this, because we were talking about coloring her hair. I say I don't want to color my hair anymore. Sometimes I go back and forth. But throughout history, throughout different cultures, hair has always been a sign of power or confidence, or, things, especially with women at times, because that is something that is very much in our control, and our hair shows that, and the way we handle it and present it. And then you have, this generation now do these amazing hairstyles, and they get to wear their colors the way they want to, all bright and vibrant as well. And I think it's amazing. And this movie definitely showed that with the different styles of hair they did, and some, they were just so vastly different and just beautiful. I seriously loved her hair at the beginning. I was in awe. I was like, yeah.
The king to her kept shading her. He was basically like, yeah, you just another one of my wives. Like,
she kind of deserved it. She was overstepping at times.
Look, I brought you here to be a hoe, okay? That's it. That's all I asked for. That's all I need. I didn't ask you to do anything else.
I I'm just gonna ask again. You think my John Boyega comment was the worst, though?
That's how it felt. That's how it felt. It was his attitude the whole movie. He's like, why can't you just be over there? Hang out with them. I got business to talk to. The Niska, she can handle business. All right, she's the business one.
I like how they had that. I feel at times she was unnecessary to the story, but at the same time, I loved her character there because because of everything that's gone throughout time and history, women do have a natural rivalry to each other. Because of this, we were forced into competition. And she is trying to do that with Viola Davis's character, Naniska. She's trying to force her into that rivalry. But Naniska's like, even when she was like, oh, we'll see who has the king's ear. She's like, if you really had the king's ear, we wouldn't even be talking right now. Naniska shut it down so quickly. And I loved that because she was trying to fight her. And the woman's like, I have bigger problems at hand than whatever's going on in your head because you want to feel pretty and rich. So I enjoyed the character presenting as an attempted rival. Throughout history, women have often been forced to compete with each other, but then you get Viola Davis' character who shuts it down pretty quick. It's like, I'm not in competition with you. I'm not rivaling with you. I have things to do. If you want to argue with me, make sound arguments. And it was just a good character. I think to present in a way that it was more, maybe like an emotional, no, it wasn't even an emotional rival. I can't say what kind of rival she was to her, because I feel like at the same time she wasn't much.
It's why I say, like, I don't think her character was all that necessary for the story. I think she was, for the scene she was in, she was good. She does, the actress did a great job playing her character. It's just the fact of, I was like, for story-wise, I'm like, I don't think we need this. Like, it's, especially if it's not going to really come in conflict at all. There's no point where John Boyega's character as King Gezo is, like, questioning Naniska based off of anything she says. She just complains, and then he's just like, oh, okay, whatever, moving on. And then he just, like, ignores her and does what he wants anyway. So I'm like, so this character doesn't really need to be here, then, is what that tells me.
Somebody wanted her throne. Although I didn't know Naniska could be considered a woman king, because she was a general and she was in the army. I assume she couldn't, it had to be one of the...
The way they explain it is that I guess he can deem anybody he wants to be the woman king. But it's as long as he's dictating that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I guess final thoughts and grades.
Yeah.
Jerome, you go first.
I like how you pick. I like how we have settled on this, that Jonathan picks who goes.
I'm gonna give this a solid B plus. I think it's just those subplots that are just like weird. They just hold the movie back a little bit, in my opinion. Because it's just time that I'm like, I feel like this is time we could have dedicated to maybe some more action or something else. Because it's like, like the Malik stuff, I'm like, yeah, sure. Like for all the ladies out there, y'all get to look at some eye candy. That's great. But I honestly, past that reasoning, I cannot come up with a real reason why this character was in this movie, except to be a beautiful black man that all the ladies can ogle at from time to time. Like, that's it.
You're not wrong.
And it's just like, but that being said, though, I feel like the good outweighs the bad a lot in a heavy way in this movie. There's some awesome action set pieces in this film. I love the camaraderie. I love the sisterhood that's on display on the screen. You really do feel like these women have like grown together and know each other and love each other. I'm sure the love was real behind the scenes too, where a lot of these women probably are like made some great friends that day on like filming this project. Just the way everything is filmed with the cinematography. I know we didn't talk about it too much, but the cinematography in this film, again, is so good and spot on. Plus, especially with the landscape. I don't know if they filmed all of this in Africa, But if they did,
They
or
did.
the stuff they did
South
film in
Africa.
Okay, cool. So yeah, it looks gorgeous. It looks really gorgeous. And I think overall, despite the historical aspect not being like 100% faithful, I think they did a good job giving honor to the history of these women specifically. Maybe not to the Dahomey tribe specifically, but definitely to these women that existed in a time period where women were not allowed to do many things, let alone be warriors. So it's just cool that that is being presented, even if it's not, if it's not up to the historian's liking of it being balls on accurate. Overall, though, I think it's a good film. I think if you can get past the whole historical thing, you'll have a good time watching this film. And I would love to see, even though I don't know if she'll do it, because probably after doing this, she's like, I did it, I'm not doing it anymore. I would love to see Viola Davis do more action movies, because I'm curious. I would love to see her do more stuff.
I think a superhero role could be in her future. Some Marvel.
I mean, she has a superhero role. It's as Amanda Waller, and she will never stop being that.
I mean, like, where she actually gets to do stuff.
Let's get her moved to Marvel. Marvel can, like, actually put her in something. DC is wasting her. Anyway.
I completely forgot that she was in those movies, because when you think of like actors in superhero movies,
I'll have you know, Amanda Waller commands respect of both Batman and Superman. All right, she is called the Wall for a reason, because nobody gets past her. All right, Amanda Waller deserves respect.
I don't know.
She may not wear a cape, but she don't need one to still be a badass.
Her employees hit her with a golf club.
That's the movies. I'm talking about the comic books.
I'm just saying. So what about you, Jonathan? What's your grade going on?
I will probably give it. I'm hovering between an A and A minus. Just because of how the movie made me feel when I left the theater, I'll give it an A. It was just like inspiring. After I watched it, I'm like, dang, I could do anything. And that's just the kind of thing that you wanna feel when you watch movies. And it wasn't in a way where it was like a cheesy inspirational movie where it's like they're trying to beat you over the head with feeling good about yourself. It was in a way that was so well done. All of the sequences were super great. Excuse me. The fight scenes, like I mentioned, I really enjoyed. The acting was phenomenal. I don't think there was a weak person in the bunch at all. Yeah, and headlined by the incomparable Viola Davis. She really made me believe that she was her character. And sometimes when actors like train for a role that's very physical, you can kind of tell, like you can tell that they're not that's not necessarily them day to day. You can tell that they're maybe like they're maybe doing a little bit of creative editing and cutting and using the stunt double a little bit more. With this, you could not tell. I've never seen Viola Davis do the things that she did in this movie. And if you've never seen anything other than this movie from Viola Davis, and maybe you didn't know about her as an actor before, you would think that this is the type of role that she always plays. You would think that she was always this character because that's how much she killed the role. It's not an A+, and I was hovering on an A- just because I would have liked some of that backstory. Also, there was one fight sequence that cut a little bit too much for me. My eyes were getting a little dizzy. So those are very small, minuscule things. Well, the backstory, not so much. I would have liked a little bit more backstory, but other than that, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I didn't know what to expect when going in. So I had a really great time. Yeah. How about you, Alex?
I would definitely have to give this movie an A as well. The love story was not necessary. That was the only thing that annoyed me because I was like, this is taking away from the plot. This is so unneeded. And girl, you have been warned that if you try to pursue a relationship with a man, you will be kicked out. And then when she gets threatened to be kicked out, she's like, no, why? So those parts frustrated me. I will say one of the things that really did impact me and we didn't really touch on was the mother-daughter aspect of finding that out and the show of generational trauma. And then this moment where you can kind of see after finding out the truth, they both kind of hate each other just for a solid second, that her child's not good in her life or that she found out as her mother. There's just a lot of emotions in the simplest forms going on, and the way they presented themselves or the way their facial expressions were still so stern and closed off was amazing to what was going on. And the ending where they're willing to dance together and she even calls her mother, and the acceptance of what's going on, not forgiving anybody and not apologizing for what's going on, or not, I don't want to say they acknowledge what was wrong, but they realize the circumstances they were in, it's not either one of their fault. But that's where that anger was at the beginning. You want to blame the person, that you want to blame the parent, you want to blame the child. That mother-daughter aspect actually brought me to tears a little bit at the ending. I did cry a little bit. It's a little weird, but it really just touched on nerve because that's something I deal with personally, as well as I continue to heal and grow and deal with, what had happened in my past, and just presented the way it did, because a lot of the times in movies you see that and it's a big emotional scene with yelling and screaming and people are like saying all these hateful things. But this is a lot how I would handle it, was be calm and just kind of be like, this happened. I'm not okay with you at the moment. And that's a problem that's going to just be there. And then that way they had the acceptance at the end where she's like, nothing's really forgiven, but like, you are still part of me and I am part of you. And, not only that, we are part of this whole sisterhood, part of this whole squad fighting for what is right in the end. And that was just so beautiful to me. And again, I just loved how they used darker skinned women, and the different body types, and just the presentation of this whole movie was. And another thing was that they didn't use a lot of locations either. You had kind of the jungle, and then you had the city area or the port, and then you had the kingdom, the castle. It wasn't called the castle. What was it called?
It was called like the palace.
The palace, thank you.
Virtually, it's kind of like a castle.
Yeah. The palace. So you didn't really even see like the whole village or community. You just saw inside the castle and the life inside I still called it a castle, the palace. So props to them. I'm seeing more and more movies doing that now, where they use less and less locations. And I think that's brilliant, because then you also connect with your surroundings, and you're like, all right, I know where we are. This is a new location. I know the exits of this movie now. I know where this character is going to run off to, because they've run off to it before. So, well done.
Those scenes when they were in like the bath area were so like ethereal. They were so well shot.
I love that a lot of their emotional conversations happen there, because a lot of times, bathing or when you're showering, it's supposed to be a safe time. You're very vulnerable in that state. But that's also when they were the most vulnerable emotionally, at least. So this movie definitely has an A. The only reason it wasn't an A+ was that love scene was just blah. I will agree, there were some stabbing parts or some slicing parts. I kept flinching during that whole film, and I was just like, But no, this movie was well done. It was beautiful. It was encouraging and inspiring, and it did make me want to go and start, working out again and taking classes, because I was like, damn, I want to know how to fight again. So I recommend everybody go see this movie. It's just a beautiful movie.
Nice. Well, great words to end on. We love a good family love story. Find your family.
And family's not always by blood.
Quote of the day. And until next week, when we have something for you.
Swear to God. Swear to God. Knock it off.
We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast and want to watch more, click the playlist to your right. Or if you want to see more of what we are doing, such as mini reviews, book reviews, and gaming, click the link to our channel and don't forget to subscribe when you're there. If you have any movies, shows, or topics you'd like us to talk about, let us know. Send us a message on any of our social medias or email us. We'd love to hear from you. If you prefer to listen to this podcast, it's streaming on all your favorite podcast platforms, so go check it out. Thanks for watching.